is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The business news headlines is brought to you by CBX Wealth Management, making more possible.
Remittance wins, energy tensions, and a shock to Venezuela's power balance. Good evening and welcome to CBX Business News for Monday, January 5, 2026. I'm Rachelle Moncrief. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, bigger U.S. tax refunds could lift remittances and diaspora spending in Jamaica, offering a near-term boost to household income and consumption. Also ahead, Caribbean leaders weigh energy security risk as U.S.-Venezuela tensions escalate, raising questions about supply and regional stability. And later, the arrest of Nicolas Maduro sends shockwaves through Venezuela, regional markets, and the balance of power. Stay with us as we unpack these stories and more right after the break.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the QMAX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why QMAX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Don't never ever ever wanna calm down. Oh no, no. Yeah, yeah.
I'm trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
I'm also trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
Start a conversation with the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Check jamstockx.com for information and a list of registered stockbrokers. You can also call the Jamaica Stock Exchange at 876-967-3271 for information on how to begin. I am achieving my financial goals.
I'm achieving my financial goals.
Your garden coming along well.
Thanks, man. You know, it's a long time I've been working at it.
I can see that. I saw your mail by the gate, so I'll pick it up for you. But tell me something. Why are you still receiving dividend checks by mail?
What do you mean about that?
You need to give JCSD a mandate.
You know, me hear about the mandate them. I'm going over there right now.
A mandate means giving instructions to the Jamaica Central Securities Depository Limited, JCSD, relating to the handling of your dividend or interest payment. There are 3 types of mandates. The first is a bank mandate. The second is a hold mandate. Lastly, we have what we call a third-party mandate, with which the investor may wish to send their dividend or interest to someone other than the parties on their account or institution of their choice.
about building Jamaica? Build with solid PVC pipes and conduits, manufactured in Jamaica by Phosphate, made to the highest standard. Solid PVC pipes and conduits are made in Jamaica by Jamaicans for Jamaicans. Available at hardware stores across the island. Take some solid advice, support our economy, and build well. Buy solid PVC pipes. Next time, ask for solid brand PVC pipes and conduits. Call our distributors or Phosphate at 876-937-5099.
We're here to open a savings account for my son John. I really want him to start saving and managing his own money.
And I need for Save to visit my father in New York.
Okay, based on what you said and our risk assessment, he will qualify for simplified customer due diligence requirements. I'll need your ID, proof of income, TRN, and John's ID as well.
Okay, here you go.
Opening an account is easier than you think using simplified customer due diligence requirements, also called CDD.
Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited has been a part of Jamaica's manufacturing landscape for over 20 years. By crafting unique flavors and fragrances, we have become a part of your favorite household and food items such as beverages, ice cream, household cleaners, and much more. Known throughout the Caribbean for the highest quality, we continue to innovate with strong leadership, a dedicated team with integrity. We go the extra mile for our customers. Create the next taste sensation. Contact us at 876-923-5111 or visit our website, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn pages.
What you put in is what you get out. What you put in is what you get out. Yeah. Build up your body, boost up your brain. Take on the world now. Say bye-bye pain. Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea. Be good to you. Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea. Distributed by Amalgamated Distributors Limited.
Me grew up and see my granny and save her money under her mattress.
Exactly. Your grandmother house never burned down?
No, how you reached that, so? That was a one-off thing.
That could have happened to anybody. That's why you must put your money in a financial institution and protect it.
What if the bank crash?
Well, that's where JDIC comes in.
What you mean?
JDIC is a financial safety net which provides coverage for your money in case your financial institution fails.
Explain that to me.
Alright, because of the JDIC deposit insurance scheme, once you put your money into a financial institution like a bank or building society, you can get coverage of up to a maximum of $1.2 million per deposit of your financial institution if it should fail. And for even more information, you can visit their new website at www.jdic.org, and you can follow the social media platforms for the latest information.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
The local news is brought to you by Darriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin this evening with developments in the United States that could have important spillover effects for Jamaica's economy this year. U.S. consumers are expected to receive larger tax refunds in early 2026, raising the possibility of stronger remittance flows and diaspora-linked spending. CBX's Rondine Williams has our top story.
As the new year begins, U.S. households are preparing for a tax refund season that economists say could be larger than usual. Analysts from Morgan Stanley suggests changes to U.S. tax policies could lift average refunds by 15 to 20%, driven by deductions and credits made retroactive to the 2025 fiscal year. Those measures include deductions for tips and overtime, a higher child tax credit, and expanded senior deductions. For Jamaica, the implications are indirect but potentially meaningful. U.S. economist Heather Berger says a significant share of U.S. tax refunds is typically paid out between the first 3 months of the year, a period that often aligns with stronger remittance inflows to the island.
Historically, U.S. consumers receive about 30 to 45% of tax refunds by the end of February, with then 60 to 70% arriving by the end of March. Because of the new tax provisions, we're anticipating a noticeable boost in personal income during the first quarter of the year.
Higher disposable income among U.S. households, particularly within the Jamaican diaspora, could support money sent home for household expenses, education, and debt repayment. However, one economist notes many consumers initially use refunds to save or pay down debt, which can delay spending impacts.
According to surveys, most consumers say that they use their refunds mainly for saving or paying down debt. This can lead to healthier balance sheets, which is shown by higher prepayment rates and fewer loan delinquencies during the tax refund season. When people do choose to spend all or some of their refunds, they typically put that money towards everyday needs, travel, new clothes, or home improvements.
Larger U.S. refunds don't guarantee higher remittances, but they do create supportive conditions. The key question is how much of that early year income ultimately flows back into Jamaica's economy. Rondine Williams for CBX News.
Thanks, Rondine. Moving now to the latest update from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin. Jamaica's economy didn't just grow in the third quarter of 2025, it proved its resilience. Fresh data from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica show the economy expanding 5.1% year-on-year between July and September, marking one of the strongest quarterly performances in recent years and underscoring a broad-based rebound following the disruptions of Hurricane Beryl in 2024. But what makes this growth notable is where it came from. The goods-producing industries surged 10.9%, led by a powerful 20.9% rebound in agriculture, as favorable weather and recovery support helped farmers restore output. Manufacturing climbed 8.4%, construction rose 5.5%, and mining and quarrying posted solid gains, signaling renewed momentum in Jamaica's real economy. But the recovery wasn't confined to farms and factories. The services industries expanded 3.3%, with standout performances in transport and storage, accommodation and food services, financial and insurance activities, and utilities, sectors closely tied to tourism, trade, and business confidence. Nearly every service sector recorded growth, pointing to a synchronized economic pickup rather than a narrow rebound. On a quarter-to-quarter basis, the numbers tell an equally important story. Jamaica recorded 1.1% seasonally adjusted growth, marking the third consecutive quarter of expansion in 2025, a signal that the recovery is gaining durability, not fading momentum. And while Jamaica's economy delivered a strong rebound in the third quarter of 2025, analysts at NCB say the headline growth masks a sharply altered outlook for the months ahead. In a recent research note, NCB Capital Markets says the storm has effectively reset the country's near-term growth trajectory, moving the economy from recovery mode into stabilization. The bank points to projections from the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, which estimate a steep 11 to 13% contraction in the October to December quarter of 2025, the worst quarterly performance since the COVID-19 pandemic. Physical damage from the Category 5 hurricane is estimated at US $8.8 billion, equivalent to about 41% of 2024 GDP, disrupting production across multiple sectors and straining both domestic supply and foreign exchange earnings. NCB notes that agriculture and tourism have been among the hardest hit, with infrastructure damage compounded by a U.S. Level 3 travel advisory expected to further suppress visitor arrivals. As a result, the research highlights PIOJ forecast of a full-year economic decline of between 3 and 6%, with positive growth not expected to return until late 2026. While reconstruction spending will provide some support, NCB cautions that rebuilding alone will not guarantee expansion, underscoring the need for careful policy coordination and confidence building as Jamaica navigates the post-Melissa recovery. We go now to updates from the Bank of Jamaica on how the currency markets traded today. In Monday's currency trading session, the US dollar is selling for $159.46, the Canadian for $117.09, the pound sterling for $214.15, and the going rate for the euro is $186.91. We move to the latest updates from the JSE equities. In Monday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 114 stocks, of which 27 advanced, 63 declined, and 24 traded firm. Leading today's winners are West Indies Petroleum Terminal, ISP Finance Services, Cygnus Real Estate Financial JMD, and 138 Student Living Jamaica, while the top losers are KLE Group, Medical Disposables and Supplies, Productive Business Solutions 9.25%, Perpetual Cumulative USD, and Jamaica Public Service Company 7%. Trading activity resulted in the following movements of the JSE indices. The main market, or the main index rather, declined by 4,212.23 points, or 1.32%, to close at 315,271.70 points. The junior market index declined by 33.09 points, or 0.98%, to close at 3,348.78 points.
And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by Chris, Regional Ratings, Global Standard.
In today's Market Education Feature, we'll take a look at the term capital injections. A capital injection refers to the addition of funds, which are typically cash, equity, or debt, into a business or investment. Although frequently linked to struggling companies that require urgent financial assistance, capital injections are also widely used by startups seeking early-stage funding and by established firms aiming to support new growth plans. Such funding can significantly change a company's financial makeup, potentially shift ownership shares, or increase debt levels. It is often crucial either for sustaining operations or enabling expansion.
The Market Education Feature was brought to you by Chris, Regional Ratings, Global Standards.
And that's it for the local news segment. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
Kingston, Jamaica is a place to be in January 2026 for the 21st staging of the Regional Investment and Capital Market Conference that will be hosted by the Jamaica Stock Exchange at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. We invite you to join us as we bring together government leaders, issuers, investors, and potential investors for 3 days of insightful presentations and discussions. Register now. Seats are limited. Call 967-3271 or visit jamstockx.com.
Welcome back. And now for the regional business news. As the Caribbean faces shifting global power dynamics, regional leaders are reassessing the future of energy security and investment amid rising U.S. pressure surrounding oil markets, Venezuela, and broader geopolitical risks. Several CARICOM states are now signaling a reduced reliance on fossil fuel revenues, even as energy remains a strategic concern. CBX's Janelle Dillon reports.
As geopolitical tensions between the United States and Venezuela intensify, Caribbean leaders are navigating a complex landscape shaped by energy security, investment risk, and global power shifts. The developments have prompted renewed discussion across the region about exposure to external shocks and the long-term sustainability of fossil fuel-driven growth. In Trinidad and Tobago, long regarded as the Caribbean's energy hub, officials have sought to clarify the country's position amid the rising tensions. Responding to questions on the evolving U.S.-Venezuela situation, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Duseza says Trinidad and Tobago has no intention of engaging in conflict, stressing that while cooperation on regional energy projects is welcomed, the country maintains its own energy strategy.
Our partnership with the United States is about Trinidad and Tobago, safety and security here. Those are issues for the Trump administration and for the United States. Trinidad and Tobago is no part of that blockade. We are about Trinidad and Tobago. And we are very happy with how things are progressing with the partnership with the U.S. We have had over 100 years of an oil and gas economy, and not one drop of oil has come from Venezuela. We have Exxon, we have others working within our fields. We have expanded more fields. Yes, we will welcome the gas, but right now, we don't need it.
Her comments come as Washington sharpens its rhetoric around oil and geopolitical influence. U.S. President Donald Trump has described Venezuela's vast oil reserves as strategically important, linking energy supply stability to broader economic and national interests. While analysts say the focus highlights energy's role in the global power dynamics, President Trump maintains that its actions are aimed at restoring stability to Venezuela's economy.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious because that's what we're all about. We want peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela.
Janelle Dillon for CBX News.
Thanks, Janelle. Meanwhile, at a press conference on Sunday, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio dismissed the authority of the United Nations, fueling concerns about a hardening U.S. foreign policy stance amid shifting energy markets and heightened regime pressure. Taking it a step further, Rubio described Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro as a fugitive of American justice, a remark that signals how far the United States is prepared to go in defending its strategic and energy interests in the region.
Number one, Venezuela is a major source, and the reason why is the following. And I've seen a lot of this reporting, and it's fake reporting, and I'll tell you why. It says that somehow Venezuela is not involved in the drug trade because the UN says they're not involved in the drug. I don't care what the UN says. The UN doesn't know what they're talking about. Maduro is indicted by a grand jury in the Southern District of New York. So number one, let there be no doubt, Nicolas Maduro is an indicted drug trafficker in the United States, and he's a fugitive of American justice.
That was U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. In other news, CARICOM Chairman and Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Terence Drew, is urging Caribbean nations to deepen economic cooperation, positioning regional trade as a central pillar for growth, resilience, and long-term stability. The call comes ahead of the 50th CARICOM Heads of Government meeting scheduled for February 24 to 27, where leaders are expected to focus on trade facilitation, finance, and infrastructure. Speaking against the backdrop of global uncertainty, Dr. Drew says the region must rely more heavily on its own markets, pointing to opportunities to expand intra-regional trade, streamline logistics, attract investment, and strengthen support for small and medium-sized enterprises.
In an increasingly uncertain world, regional integration is not optional, it is essential. As a unified body, we will continue to explore viable partnerships to encourage innovative approaches, capacity building, and access to affordable finance that are needed to foster sustainable development. Recent international developments, including geopolitical tensions in our region and external policy decisions affecting Caribbean nationals, remind us of a fundamental truth. None will come to save us. We must save ourselves. Recent public discussions among member states reflecting differing national perspectives have unfolded in a way that has attracted regional and international attention. While such differences are not unusual in a diverse community such as ours, they remind us of the importance of managing our dialogue with care, mutual respect, and a resolute sense of regional responsibility.
That was CARICOM Chairman and Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Terence Drew. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 21 securities, of which 5 advanced, 2 declined, and 14 traded firm. Leading today's winners are National Enterprises, JMMB Group, Trinidad Cement, and the West Indian Tobacco Company, while leading the losers are A.S. Bryden & Sons Holdings and Massey Holdings. Trading activity resulted in the following movements of the TTSE indices. The All TNT Index declined by 1.46 points or 0.11% to close at 1,377.71. The Composite Index advanced by 1.36 points or 0.14% to close at 952.02. The cross-listed index advanced by 0.62 points or 0.90% to close at 69.47. The SME index remained at 94.06. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment is up next.
We're here to open a savings account for my son John. I really want him to start saving and managing his own money.
And I need for safe to visit my father in New York.
Okay, based on what you said and our risk assessment, he will qualify for simplified customer due diligence requirements. I'll need your ID, proof of income, TRN, and John's ID as well.
Okay, here you go.
Opening an account is easier than you think using simplified customer due diligence requirements, also called CDD.
Welcome back. In international news, the arrest of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro by U.S. forces has triggered one of the most significant geopolitical shocks in the Western Hemisphere in decades, sending ripples through global markets, energy supply chains, and diplomatic relations. U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed the operation over the weekend, saying Washington would oversee a transition aimed at restoring stability. Maduro, however, has rejected the legitimacy of the move, pleading not guilty to U.S. narcotics charges in a New York court and insisting he remains Venezuela's lawful leader. In Caracas, uncertainty deepened as Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was sworn in as interim president, signaling continuity but offering no indication that the government would directly challenge U.S. control. For markets, the focus has shifted quickly from politics to economics, specifically Venezuela's vast oil reserves and who ultimately controls them. And that question of oil ownership is where investors reacted first. U.S. oil and refining stocks jumped as investors priced in the possibility that American companies could regain access to Venezuela's enormous crude reserves, the largest in the world. President Trump says he had spoken with U.S. oil executives before and after the operation, signaling that private companies would be expected to rebuild Venezuela's oil infrastructure and invest capital, while the U.S. government would not directly fund the effort. Shares of Chevron, the only U.S. major still operating in Venezuela, rose sharply, alongside Gulf Coast refiners that are specifically configured to process Venezuela's heavy crude. While sanctions remain in place, analysts say markets are trading future access, not immediate supply, betting that political change could unlock stranded energy assets over time. But that same potential supply shift is creating pressure elsewhere. The Canadian dollar weakened against the US dollar, becoming the only G10 currency to lose ground as investors weighed whether Venezuelan crude could displace Canadian oil in US refineries. Canada, like Venezuela, produces heavy crude, much of which is exported to the US Gulf Coast. The prospect of Venezuela's eventual return to that market weighed on Canadian energy stocks and pushed bond yields lower as investors turned cautious. Currency strategists say Canada's broader economic fundamentals remain supportive, but energy trade dynamics are dominating near-term market sentiment. And finally, we move across the Atlantic. Investors were responding to the same risk through equity markets. European stocks closed higher, led by defense companies, as investors priced in heightened geopolitical risk following the U.S. intervention in Venezuela. Shares of major European defense manufacturers surged, pushing the regional aerospace and defense index to multi-month highs as expectations grew for increased military spending amid rising global tensions. Oil prices edged higher, though analysts caution that Venezuela's current production levels limit any immediate impact on global supply. And that's it for the international segment of the newscast. The news recap is coming up on the other side of the break.
Serious about building Jamaica? Build with solid PVC pipes and conduits, manufactured in Jamaica by Phosphate, made to the highest standard. Solid PVC pipes and conduits are made in Jamaica by Jamaicans for Jamaicans. Available at hardware stores across the island. Take some solid advice, support our economy, and build well. Buy solid PVC pipes. Next time, ask for solid brand PVC pipes and conduits. Call our distributors or Phosphate at 876-937-5099.
And now to recap our top stories. In the local news, bigger U.S. tax refunds could lift remittances in Jamaica. Regionally, Caribbean leaders weigh energy security as U.S.-Venezuela tensions rise. And internationally, Maduro arrest upends Venezuela, markets, and power balance. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Rachelle Moncrief. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.
I'm Jillian Jackson. You're watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.